Hi everyone, I'm Joe. Today it's time for me to do a video about my 2022 Chicago WorldCon trip and the obvious book haul that goes along with it, because of course I'm not going to go to a WorldCon without buying a few books. This is relatively few books though compared to previous WorldCons, because I was trying to be fairly good this time and I'm pretty pleased that I actually achieved it. So first of all, what is the WorldCon? It is, as the name might suggest, it is a world book convention, specifically with a focus on science fiction and fantasy. It is where the Hugo Awards are given out. There is a Hugo ceremony each year. This is the 80th WorldCon, and this was also ChiCon 8, the 8th time that Chicago has held the WorldCon. And frankly, Chicago holds the WorldCon rather well, because it was very well laid out, very professional, and overall it's a really good experience. So that experience started with nothing to do with the WorldCon, the fact that I had to deal with Heathrow Airport again. Now, if you know, I went to the 2018 WorldCon in San Jose, also 2019 Dublin WorldCon, and when I went to San Jose, I was a bit nervous then, because I'd never actually dealt with an airport by myself before, and especially dealing with Heathrow. Heathrow is one of the biggest airports around, and I was a bit apprehensive, but it went extremely well. Heathrow is thankfully well laid out, and it went extremely smoothly, and I was there before I knew it. And I was very grateful that I got off the plane, because my legs were cramping up horribly badly. I'm going to see if it's something I can do for next time that will help with my the fact that my legs felt like they were breaking by the time I got off the plane, but we'll see. Anyway, then when I got to Chicago, I met up with Raya at the airport, and together we went into Chicago itself, and we booked into our separate hotel rooms. And all I'm going to say is, my hotel room for that first night, because the rest of the week I was sharing a hotel room with Paul, but the first night I was in a hotel room by myself, and that was a fantastic hotel room. I mean, the other hotel room was fine, it was just as nice, but the view from that first hotel room for that first night was remarkable. I was on the 32nd floor, and I had an absolutely perfect view directly down the river at the Great Lake and the harbour by the Great Lake, and it was just an amazing view. You had the buildings either side and a very clear view straight the way down, and it was really quiet, peaceful, and that was just a really nice first night. Although the next morning was fun, because I couldn't get any phone access on my mobile, plus I also couldn't access the internet Wi-Fi temporarily at the time. I did get access on the Monday morning, but so I couldn't actually talk to Rachel, Andrea and Raya, so they didn't know where I was, and I couldn't actually figure out where they were, because I didn't have any access on my phone. We did meet up without a major problem, but that was a little bit of a interesting and kind of amusing little personal story for us now to think back on, and it made the start kind of odd but fun and definitely memorable, which the whole trip was extremely memorable, because frankly the WorldCon works because of the people. Obviously, as you can tell, I hung out with a group of friends and fellow booktubers. I shared a room with Paul, whose channel I will link in the description box below. I will link everybody's channel in the description box below. In fact, without Paul, and I'd like to thank Paul for basically sort of putting up with me for a week, because I am not a too easygoing person. My biggest anxiety and my biggest fear is going somewhere where I don't know where I am and I can't plan for it entirely. Going to Chicago for a WorldCon is going somewhere where I don't know and I can't plan for entirely. I'm literally doing my biggest fear. So as a result, I'm permanently a little bit uncomfortable when I'm away, because especially when I I didn't have access to my phone when I was away, apart from at the hotel when I had Wi-Fi. That made it more challenging than it needs to be. I've already thought of a solution for that for next time. So without Paul, it would have been a much more difficult week for me, and frankly I don't think I would have gone to the WorldCon, especially the American WorldCon, if Paul hadn't been there. So thank you to him for putting up with me and frankly making the trip much more fun. The rest of the people that I met with were just as fantastic. There was Rachel, who I've mentioned on this channel many times before. She's just as great in person as she appears in videos. There is Andrea, there is Raya, and there's Kelsey, and there's also Thomas from SFF 180. All of them are really nice people, much nicer and much funnier in person than they appear online. Even Rachel, who had her sense of humour surgically removed years ago. I really hope the surgeons that removed that sense of humour aren't still actually, doctors, because they should have been fired because they didn't do a very good job. Rachel got a great sense of humour. And it was a really good week because of those people. And as a group, we did lots of non-WorldCon related things together. Those being, and I'll have to look at a list for these so I don't forget one of them. There was the Field Museum, which is basically an archaeology museum with dinosaur bones, that sort of thing, and there's a T-Rex there. There was the Art Museum, with also photography of course included. That was really interesting and I really enjoyed that as a group. There was a trip to the Shed Aquarium with its big dolphin tank and all sorts of aquatic creatures. I haven't been to an aquarium since I was about 11 maybe. It's been kind of a while, like say 25 plus years at this stage. So it's interesting going to an aquarium, and it's always fun, all these locations, seeing the enthusiasm of our group. Everybody was enthusiastic about different things, and it's just fun watching the enthusiasm of everybody. Everybody was getting excited about different things and virtually running up to something, just really happy to look at whatever it was. And it's just nice to see that happening to every single one of us. At some point we were just like delighted by something there. It's really fun. And we also went to the Science and Industry Museum. Basically, this is very much the sort of science fiction aspect for our little group, because it's obviously space travel and all related things to that, which obviously greatly interests all of us. I know the person in particular that really liked the Science and Industry Museum other than me was Rachel. She really liked it, and actually she did say that eventually in one day in the future she'd actually quite happily go back, and I'm like, yep, I'll go with you if you do. There was also a trip to the American Writers Museum, specifically because it had a Ray Bradbury exhibition. If you know me by now, you'll know that I really like Ray Bradbury as a writer. His work has been really interesting and worked out for me extremely well. And this was a little trip around the museum, around this little museum, only small, but it only needs to be small. And it was just really interesting to see and really fun, and we really enjoyed that actually a lot. And we of course went to a yarn shop because we have some rather creative people in our group, like obviously Rachel and Raya, for instance. And we also went to a bookshop and Barnes & Noble to be precise, and the dealer's room. There's always a dealer's room at every WorldCon where bookshops in the area, local jewellery makers, basically sort of slightly nerdy things, often you can sort of go there for free, of course I assume, and have their own little stall, or fairly big stall as the case may be, and they you can buy their stuff there. It's a great idea, and one that generally works out well. And this is where I will do my book haul. This book haul will be, as I said at the start, a fairly short book haul because I was actually quite good. Specifically, I was only trying to allow myself to buy, and indeed I managed to buy these books that I knew I would have difficulty and have had difficulty obtaining in the UK for whatever reason. Specifically, ones that just either because of the author or the publisher are either very difficult to get or nearly impossible to get without going on specialist sites and having to, order them there, which generally costs a fortune, or you can buy them through a normal website, but because of the publisher and being American, for some reason they are extremely expensive. I mean, they are more expensive than any hardback going, for instance, even brand new ones. So this was more of a, sensible book buying exhibition trip than anything else. So the first book, and by the way, there's only two things I'm showing you because one is a set, is Not So Much Said the Cat by Michael Swanwick. I have never read anything by Michael Swanwick before. I've been wanting to for a long time because Rachel has been very enthusiastic about this author. This is actually a signed edition of the book. I do not know how clear that is, but it is signed. And I'm very eager to read this. And now that I've filmed this video, I can actually read these. For the record, I haven't wanted to read these books until I've filmed this video because, people might notice what I'm reading and it'd be a spoiler. Having these books and not being able to read them because of this video, it's very tempting indeed to just read everything, but I'm like, no, I'll be good. I'll resist. And the second set of books, indeed the final part of this haul, I did say it's going to be quick, is, oh yes, the Murderbot novellas in hardback. So new, in fact, to me that it's even got the cellophane on the box still. I've never actually touched these since I got back. I loved the first Murderbot novella, which is All Systems Red. This contains the next three as well in this hardback format. And I have been wanting them in physical format for a while, frankly, but in the UK, because these are, unless I'm mistaken, published by Tor. In the UK, Tor is a horribly expensive publisher to buy. I mean, like, stupidly expensive, almost abnormally expensive. So getting these in the UK is not really an option. Also, you actually can't buy these at the moment. Last time I checked, they seem to get sometimes you'll buy them and then sometimes they'll just be impossible to buy. Literally, you can't buy them. So it's 50-50 whether you can. So I'm really happy that I bought these. And both of these, by the way, I mean, All Systems Red, I first read this because of Rachel. So this is another book haul where I'm going to be just blaming Rachel and thanking her because her enthusiasm makes me read a lot of books, which is, not really surprising. Now, as far as the WorldCon itself is concerned, this was relatively minor overall compared to the overall trip because at this point, myself and indeed the rest of our little group, we all come to the conclusion, and fairly obviously, that the WorldCon is basically, that's just the motivation and more of a sort of theme to get together on. We're not actually doing too much, at least most of us aren't, to do with the actual WorldCon and indeed the panels. I mean, yes, I did go to about 5 panels in the end, but the first WorldCon in San Jose 4 years ago, I went to probably 25. So this was relatively minor, and that's the way I kind of like it, really. To do a little bit of WorldCon stuff, but not too much. Pace yourself and just enjoy myself with the group, doing other things and exploring the area. And as a group, I mean, frankly, WorldCon now is a case of people first, location second, and WorldCon third. Frankly, I'm pretty sure that's the same for the whole group. So it did work out, and the WorldCon was really good, well planned, organised, everything else. But our priorities are now, frankly, mostly each other and location rather than the WorldCon, which is fine. That's just how these things are. I mean, frankly, people are more interesting than just merely a WorldCon to me now. So it's one of those things, and it has worked out rather well because this again is a very memorable trip and one that I loved. Two of the panels though that I want to mention were memorable because one of them was a panel that involved BookTube, Bookstagram and BookTok, and two of our group, namely Raya and Thomas, was actually on that panel. So obviously the rest of us were sitting in the audience watching. That went rather well. And the other panel was one that Raya was the moderator for, and Raya did a good job with it, considering, and especially considering in fact, that out of the 3 panellists, only one of them actually bothered to turn up. So Raya was literally just talking to one panellist. There was our little group in the audience of about, what, I think there's 4 of us, and about another 10 people. Very small room, and it was a nice panel that was. And Raya did well as a moderator for the panel, for the record. So, overall the panels were good and interesting, but the ones that stuck out were them two, because frankly it involved our group. You know, as it's obviously going to be the case. We also went to the Masquerade, which is basically, you know, costuming event held every WorldCon. People dress up, not always in sort of science fiction or fantasy stuff, but it mostly is. You know, it's always sort of nerdy things, frankly. And there is some judging going on, and you know, somebody wins. There's usually a young panelist person, a young costumers award, which there was this time, which is always nice to see. And it's just a nice, relaxing evening that was. There was also a boat trip that we went on the river in Chicago, which was really nice, an architectural boat tour, which was fun. And there was also, of course, the Hugo ceremony itself on the Sunday night, which was interesting. It had a bit of a strange feel to it. I think by that point, the whole room, the entire Hugo room, felt a little bit subdued. I have ideas on the reasons why. Frankly, there was a few awards that really shouldn't have been won by the people that they did. One in particular, an author that won an award for a particular genre, and she didn't even write in that genre, but yet she accepted the award. I'm not going into further details, but let's just say my friend Kelsey was not entirely happy about that particular one, and her channel will be linked below, so you can go and find out about that from Kelsey, because she does a much better job explaining it than I do, because she actually knows about this subject. I'm just learning it, frankly, from her. And overall, it was a really interesting event, and it's just good to see, obviously, my friends, fellow booktubers, see a certain amount of authors wandering around, and of course, you know, the non-WorldCon related activity that we did that dominated the week, which was really, really fun overall. And another thing that I could just point out is the food was really nice over there. I really enjoyed it, and frankly the food is always quite memorable for these things, because each WorldCon I've been to, now this is the 3rd, afterwards, and this is not going to be any different, I've realised that there are certain things or combinations of types of food that I actually like, and he has actually broadened up my eating habits from then on. Ever since America, I've been eating certain things far more often. Dublin, the same, and this will almost certainly have an effect on what I'm eating, generally for the better, because my diet is already nice and healthy. So with the WorldCon, this will make it just as healthy but more variety. So I really did enjoy the food. Apart from, there's only one time I didn't enjoy the food, well, oddly enough, same as the other, and that was specifically waffles, American style waffles. Let's just say English waffles are not the same, like, at all. They use the same name, they're still called waffles, but they're not alike, and I did not like them. They were, so American waffles, no, they're not my thing. But everything else was really nice, and I'm very glad that I ate it. So overall, this was a fantastic trip, which I really enjoyed. It was fantastic, due in no small part, and nearly entirely, frankly, to do with my friends, that group of booktubers that I hung out with for the week. without them I wouldn't have gone, and indeed without them I wouldn't have been to Dublin WorldCon or indeed San Jose WorldCon. And the next WorldCon that we will all be going to is in 2 years, because it has been confirmed that Glasgow, Scotland will be hosting the 2024 WorldCon. I'm quite eager on this because Glasgow is literally about 4 hours on a train for me. So this is a nice easy WorldCon. Glasgow will be when I can go there, and we'll hang out again, get to see something of Scotland. I've been to Wales and I've been to Ireland, obviously around England. I've never been to Scotland, so this will be interesting for me as well, and I'm really looking forward to it. Although there will be more booktube related travel before that WorldCon. I'm not saying how yet, but there definitely will be more travel related to this, which I'll do. I might do videos of near the time as and when these things happen, but there'll definitely be more travel. So with that said, that is actually it for this video, and frankly it is the last time I will be wearing this, my lanyard for the WorldCon. It's a shame, but you know, I have to stop wearing it sometime. If you was at the WorldCon or you would like to go to a WorldCon, then please leave a comment and we go over a tour. If you ever feel like you want to attend a WorldCon and you haven't before, then I would recommend you definitely think about it, and you know, if it's within a reasonable distance to you, then you know, try to go, because I think it's worth it. Obviously if you can go with people that, you know, friends and things, then I would definitely recommend that. It works out extremely well, and it works out for a really fantastic experience, because mine have been nothing but positive so far. Been no negatives about all 3 WorldCons for me now, and I predict that will pretty much continue to happen. And with that said, that is actually it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you another day. Bye for now.